Gotta keep those winter colds away. So refreshing. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vodka with Veronica. So they always say talk about what you know. And the thing I know most about is tartan. Now a lot of people call it plaid here in North America. That's actually incorrect. A plaid in the United Kingdom is actually a part of the Highland outfit. So it's sort of like a sash that gets attached to your shoulder and kind of falls down your back. Plaid in North America has kind of become synonymous with tartan, but that's not technically true. Here in North America, a plaid is just sort of a checked piece of fabric. Tartans are actually representative of something, either a place or a group of some kind of military group, or people's families and clans. Whereas plaids just represent whatever colors the fabric manufacturer wanted to put together. Tartans as they are today that represent clans and groups and things, they have only been around since sort of late 18th, early 19th century, actually. There's a big reason for why they came to be, but let's back up for a minute and I will kind of break it down for you as to what happened way back in the day for us to get the tartans that we have now. Tartan-like textiles have been around since like 7th century BC, but uniformity in tartan didn't come around until sort of late 17th, early 18th century. Until that point, it was just like what we call plaid. It was just sort of lines crossing lines, no real distinction to it. The tartans from back in the late 17th, early 18th century represent where people lived, not the family they came from. Side note, that's actually what the Irish tartans of today represent. It represents the counties in Ireland, not the Irish last names. Tartan is so well loved in the world today, but it was not always the case, and it's had a very tumultuous life, that tartan. Tartan was a deeply important symbol of the Jacobite cause. If you don't know anything about the Jacobite era, I would suggest Googling it because that's an entirely other video. Spoiler alert, once the Jacobites were defeated, sad face, in 1745, Battle of Culloden, English government instituted an act which banned all Highland dress. Any kind of tartan, kilts, anything that represented the Highland sort of way of life was totally banned, and it was banned for 37 years. Very, very long period of time. Of course, we Scottish people are quite stubborn, so that didn't really stop us. It just had to be very, very secretive. I wonder if they had like tartan speakeasies, like Prohibition, you know, in the early 20th century. I wonder if there's that kind of thing in Scotland where people could just like go into a secret room and put on their kilt and dance around. I would like to think there was. I would like to think there was some sort of tartan speakeasy. In fact, I would like to have a tartan speakeasy today. That would be a lot of fun. Anybody wants a tartan speakeasy? Get at me. We can tartan posse this situation right up. So Highland societies were organized to trace and create clan tartans that would represent each of the family names and clans that we actually still wear those tartans to this day. Once the act was repealed, the Scottish people were so excited to have their tartans back that they started kind of implementing these sort of clan tartans and sort of being so proud of their heritage and where they came from. You know, not having been able to wear it for the better part of 4 decades, they really thought, let's up the tartan game and make it much more representative of who we are and sort of where we came from. Scottish people were super excited about it. The rest of the world, though, didn't quite know about tartans and things as much until 1822. George IV was the first English king in almost 150 years to visit Edinburgh. 150 years. So as you can imagine, the Scottish people a little hesitant about accepting this English king. So in order to kind of get on their side, he was convinced to show up in full tartan regalia. And he did, and it was mayhem. They had tartan fever, like Bieber fever, but for tartan. All the high society ladies of Edinburgh were dressed in their clan tartans. It was really a big spectacle and really kind of put it on the world stage. One of the great things about tartan, especially back in those days, was not only did the Highland sort of low-class farmers wear tartan, but the high-class society people of Edinburgh also wore tartan. And it was very rare to have a fabric that both high society and low society people wore, and it just sort of united the country, especially after sort of being under the English thumb for so long. Not that they're not still under the English thumb necessarily. Today, there are hundreds upon hundreds of tartans available that are readily woven. A lot of people get really confused about tartans and what they represent and what the different colors mean. And a lot of people think because their grandmother wore the modern version of their tartan, that's the only one that represents their family. And that's not necessarily true. That's what all of your sentimental memories are tied to. But in actual fact, all of that clan's tartans do represent your family. MacDonald of Clan Ranald is the clan that MacIsaacs originally belonged to. And I'm a MacIsaac, so I grew up knowing about the MacDonald tartan. Modern MacDonald of Clan Ranald. Now it's called modern tartan because these colors would not have been available back in the day. There's navy blue and a forest green and a bright sort of cherry red. These colors wouldn't have been as readily available back in the days of when they were kind of weaving these tartans originally. And we move on to ancient MacDonald of Clan Ranald. The lines are actually exactly the same as the modern one, just the colors are a little different. The navy blue turns to like a slate blue, the dark green turns to like a sage green, and the red turns to like an orangey kind of red. From there we move on to weathered MacDonald of Clan Ranald. The blue actually turns to a gray, the green turns to a brown, and the red turns to like a corally kind of salmon pink color, which is actually really, really gorgeous. I love weather tartans. I think they are so, so sharp. The tartans that are becoming more and more popular and more weavers are creating these versions is called muted. So this is muted MacDonald of Clan Ranald. But the blue is sort of a tealy blue, the green is more olivey, and the red is this beautiful cranberry color. And it's just delicious and gorgeous and vibrant. It's much more sort of like jewel tones. And then we get into dress tartans. And dress tartans were supposed to be sort of for a more dressy affair. This is modern dress MacDonald. So it has the dark colors here, but it also has these big blocks of white surrounding it. So it makes it quite bright and a lot brighter than the regular modern MacDonald would be. In Highland dancing, they are over the moon for the dress tartans because when you're competing, you really want your outfit to really stand out. And what the weavers have been doing for the dancer tartans is taking a tartan and making all kinds of different versions of that in different colors. Take, for instance, dress purple Lennox, dress royal Lennox, dress wine Lennox, dress red Lennox, dress turquoise Lennox. It just goes on and on. And they're these beautiful colors, and you can get them in all kinds of different shades, and they wear the beautiful jackets to match. It's really quite lovely, and you can pick something that's more sort of in your color range and not necessarily what's originally been sort of chosen by the weavers, 300 years ago. They also created hunting tartans, which are supposed to look like sort of like a tartan camouflage. This is regular modern Clan Fraser, very bright red, but then this is the hunting version. So it's a lot darker, a lot more subtle, less visible if you're actually out hunting. There are tartans that represent places, like the Irish national tartan, and tartans that represent groups, like the most iconic group tartan would be the Black Watch tartan. It was originally created for the Black Watch Highlanders, of course, but it's become synonymous with sort of tartan and what it represents. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Friday. Cheers.